Hello everyone, welcome to Officers Library. I'm Pooja Elangbam, IAS 2018 batch. I'm serving as SDO Porompat, Imphal East. Today, I'll be talking about the importance of books in my life and what I've learned from them. I started reading at a very young age because my parents were impatient to tell me more stories, so they gave me books instead. And since then, I have been hooked. They have played a very important role, and I always carry them with me. Even till today, I always carry a book in my bag, and whenever I'm waiting for some meetings, I always take it out and read it, and it always centers me and makes me feel calm. And also I feel that I become a much more kinder and empathetic person because you see so many different perspectives, and your world becomes much wider than wherever you are from, whether you're from Manipur or where you're from India. You learn so much about different parts of the world. So that is what books have done for me. I started reading at the age of 5 or 6. My parents gave me a book of Manipuri folk tales. Basically, these are oral stories which have been written down recently, and they're very interesting. They're usually actually read by grandmothers to their kids, but it was in the form of a story. So after that, I read Amar Chitra Katha, and I started reading Secret 7, Famous 5, Enid Blyton books. So gradually, that's how most of the books which I read as a kid was mainly on those lines. My favorite genre is historical fiction. I think it's mostly because I took up history, so I love reading books which has a historical background. I love the books by Michael Ondaatje, Leo Tolstoy, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, because they always have backdrop of, say, First World War, Second World War, or the Cold War. So these are very interesting times when times are changing, and how do individual lives deal with them. I also find Amitav Ghosh very interesting, and even Mamang Dai's books from the Northeast, because they give you a perspective of the history of these regions, and they also delve into individual lives and how they cope with them. It's very hard for me to pinpoint, but I think for recent times, I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's a Nigerian American writer, and her books like Half of a Yellow Sun, Americana, I think they give you a very interesting perspective of a person from Africa going to the US to study, and how they cope up with it, and the kind of differences they find in this land. So I think as a person from a developing nation, Africa, India, I think we can resonate a lot from their struggles and on the difficulties of a nation which is developing and becoming a great power. My favorite book of all time has to be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It is a very surreal, realistic book, and it writes about Colombia. So the idea of magical realism came from this kind of writings, where you write about the history of a country through a family, but you also make it magical, so you don't really know whether it's completely fiction or if it's taken from historical facts. And it's really interesting how through generations that family went through different eras of a country's life. So I found that really interesting, and something which we can also relate from our part of the country. I would recommend this book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I think it's a very calming, motivating book, because it tells you that no matter what, that Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. Despite being an emperor, he went through hard times, difficult times. He had problems in his family, he had problems while ruling, while governing. So I think for UPSC aspirant, while going through that process when you are angry and insecure and anxious, this book really helps you calm down, and it gives gives you the perspective to keep going on no matter what, because everyone faces difficulties in life, but it's how you get back up after that. So I think the core values of this book will be really helpful to all aspirants out there. So my favorite line is this from this poem by Rudyard Kipling called If, and it says, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think but not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. So I feel that this line is telling you that you can dream a lot, you can think, and you'll find success and failure both. But you have to stay humble, you have to stay grounded, because you should not get too elated when you succeed, and you should not feel too miserable when you fail, because you have to center yourself, you have to stay calm, and that's how you proceed in your life. So the book club, as I've said earlier, I started in 2019 to meet like-minded people and to actually help and guide younger people who love books, and even those who don't love books. I wanted to introduce books to them and how you can learn so much from them. You don't have to stay in Delhi or Mumbai or go for studies to Bangalore, but you can actually be in Manipur and still learn so much about different parts of the world and different parts of the country. And also in Manipur we have the problem of drugs and alcohol, which a lot of young people end up indulging in. So I wanted to take them away from that and give them a more productive and a more fulfilling aspect which they can indulge in. So Book Club Imphal, the last 3-4 years we have been doing a lot of activities, film screenings, quizzes. We exchange books, we recommend books to each other, and we just recently had Bibliomania, our literary fest, in which we had panel discussions, quizzes, poetry sessions. So a lot of people participated and people enjoyed it. So I think that's the idea I want to give, is that learning can be fun. It should not be confined to our classrooms. It should not be confined to passing exams or scoring 95, 100%. But we should enjoy it, and we should enjoy it with our family, we should enjoy it with our friends, and that's how we become better people. I think you can develop a reading habit at any age. Of course, I think it's easier when you develop it at a younger age, because whatever habits we develop when we are younger, it tends to stick with us. However, I have come across many people who started reading late in their late teenage or even in their 20s and 30s. I think the idea is first to find a book which is easy. Just because people are recommending thick and heavy books, you should just go with that. I think you should stick to ones which you find interesting, on a topic which you find interesting. If it's fiction, it's fine. If it's non-fiction, it's fine. Try it, try reading it, try to be consistent, read for at least 2-3 hours at a go, and once you keep at it, I think once you find this joy, and you will not be able to stop yourself. So on my to be read list, one is Funeral Nights. It's by this author from Meghalaya, and it's a very thick book, but it seems so interesting because it talks about the whole socio-cultural life of the Khasis. They are a community in Meghalaya. Another book is The Art of Not Being Governed. It talks about these communities in Southeast Asia, even from Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, and the kind of nomadic and the kind of different way of governing themselves, which is which is there throughout this Southeast Asia. So I want to read about that, and there's several books which are on my list right now, and I've recently started loving a lot of non-fiction books. Usually I read a lot of fiction, but now maybe because of the kind of work I'm doing, that I feel that a lot of non-fiction helps with my line of work as well. So there's this really cheeky book called Bureaucracy by K.M. Kao, and I recommend it to every officer because it's full of snide and funny remarks about being an officer from the Indian Administrative Service. It talks about other services as well, and it's a very funny take on it, because I feel that we should not take ourselves too seriously. Sometimes officers, take themselves too seriously and think they know everything. So I think they also need to sit back, laugh at themselves, and it's really fun, and it also hits at a lot of truths which we need to realize so that we can change it for the better. So far this is my recommendations from Officers Library. I hope that most of you will pick up some of the books I've mentioned and try to read them. They are really interesting. You'll learn a lot. You'll also be able to reflect on them. I think it's very important to reflect, to journal, to think about it even after you finish the book, because I think that's when you have that introspection into what kind of a person you are, what kind of a world we live in, and I think you'll have fun as well, because some of them are really funny and you need to have a good laugh while preparing it even after you get into service. So thank you all so much for joining in, and I wish you all the best for exams ahead.